You're entering Corsi Nation.
This is Jerome Corsi. It's Monday, September 15th, 2025. Thanks for joining us on CorsiNation.com. You can follow me on X at CorsiJerome1, the number 1. And you can follow us on Substack. We're gaining on Substack new subscribers. That's Jerome Corsi PhD.substack.com. So Jerome Corsi PhDs all together. .substack.com. No periods or dashes or anything else. Jerome Corsi PhD.substack.com. Okay, I want to cover a few things starting out with the Washington, D.C. And after now we had this Mayor Muriel Bowser, another joke Democrat, defund the police, let the criminals out. The victims are the criminals, let's all have sympathy with the criminals. Let's not protect anybody. Democrat, insurrectionist, anti-American, neo-Marxist, destructionist. So Donald Trump said that he's going to call a national emergency and just federalize Washington, D.C., because Bowser said the police will not cooperate with ICE, with immigrations and customs enforcement. Okay, well, enough. They want the illegal immigrants. They want the mother rapers, the father rapers, the baby rapers. They want the MS-13 gangs, the Venezuelan gangs. They want the tranny violent gangs. We're going to talk a lot about them today. That's the left. Left's out of its mind. Left is now delusional. It's satanic. So the left is now going to do more violence. They want to see a war. They want to see a civil war. They want to see the country burn. This left is insane. And the Democratic Party has lost its legitimacy and doesn't have a reason to exist any longer. It used to just be a communist party. Now it's become an anti-American treasonous party. And the number of Democrats celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination is disgraceful. And if they want to support violence, they need to be investigated. We're going to cover that a lot today. But I'm seeing a major shift here. Donald Trump sent troops also to New Orleans. And I think he's happy to nationalize the entire country if that's what it takes. And put the troops in because the Democrats are not going to do it. You think the Democrats are going to do anything about California? You're wrong. They just want to wreck it. All they want is destruction. And if the Democratic Party is going to go down that route, so be it. But America is not going to go down that route. If we do, we don't have a country. And so therefore, Donald Trump, I think, is putting and by the way, he commented, he did another press conference on the tarmac at Bedminster yesterday as he was leaving New Jersey to go back to Washington. And what he was making clear was that, again, the Venezuelan drugs are not going to be permitted. We have to blow more ships out of the water. We will. Bolsonaro has now been in Brazil, convicted of a 27-year sentence. The leftists over there are now punishing their political enemies. The left in the United States wants to say we're politicizing Justice Department by going after the left, but the left is violent. I mean, the left is insane. The left wants to destroy America. They're going to elect a communist mayor in New York City, and Hochul, the governor of New York, who spent billions of dollars on DEI, is out saying that she supports the communist candidate for mayor. I mean, give me a break. The Democratic Party is so marginalized, so fringe, that the only people who are going to support it are the LGBT nutcases. LGBTQ plus. Might as well include every other thing you can think of. I wrote a book called Bad Samaritans a few years ago and said that they were, the LGBT group was soon going to go after pedophilia. Well, they've done that. And maybe next they'll go after necrophilia, have sex with dead people. This whole thing, which I'm going to point out today, is really a destruction of life. The fundamental impulse is a war against God, and the God only can produce life, and the trans hate that they can't produce life with sex between two men or sex between two women. Well, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work. It wasn't built that way. Oh, I'm sorry, but we can re-engineer it to make it work that way. No, you can't. Not going to work. All you can do is destroy the ability of that child or that person who you do a sex change operation on to ever have an orgasm or to ever have any sex of any meaningful kind, except the bizarre satanic sex you want. And by the way, everybody who thinks it's this homosexuality is just these two little men, these two puppies just love each other, have not seen a gay pride ceremony in which Jesus Christ is on the cross naked and they're performing bizarre sexual homosexual routines over Jesus Christ on the cross. Sacrilegious. It's aimed at evil. It's aimed at destroying. Underneath it, it's sadomasochistic. This is not love. It's a perversion of love. And the idea that we're going to have the transgender, transhuman run the world is putting the world in charge of the psychopaths. These people are psychologically disturbed. It's schizophrenia. You can have your gender be anything you want, but you better need mental help because it doesn't change the fundamental facts of life. You're male or female, period. And otherwise, you're just bizarre, twisted, perverted. All the words that normally would apply if language were used in the correct way, not twisted, where evil is made to be good and good is made to be evil. Of course, I'm going to want you to comment in a minute or two, but I'm wanting to cover a few of these stories. Let's go to this one here about the FBI now is investigating this Utah-based tranny militant group that had foreknowledge of Kirk's assassination. Okay, so these people can't help themselves because they're so psychologically disturbed that they go on sites like Reddit or Discord, and they have their little game groups in which they then demonstrate their bizarre sexual tendencies and their bizarre view of the world. Okay, and so this Tyler Robinson, a 22-year-old suspect, and the Charlie Kirk assassination case, we're now seeing that he was pulled into these fringe ideologies. His family actually tends to be pretty Christian conservative and Trump supporting. They threw him out the house because he wouldn't go to talk to a bishop over his bizarre behavior. Okay, but what we're finding is now, and Trump affirmed this, that these people are under investigation, that the left is violent now. It's a terrorist group. These are terrorist organizations, these trannies, and they have had armed training sessions and vocal opposition to people like Kirk, and it's not limited to Charlie Kirk. I mean, maybe they'll try assassinating 2 at the same time in one day, or how about 3 at the same time in one day, in a coordinated effort. This is not a lone gun nutcase. None of them are. JFK wasn't. RFK wasn't. Martin Luther King wasn't. These are organized. And the organization here is this transgender violent group that hides in the shadows of society in websites like Reddit, Discord, and they have their own little language. So that what we're seeing now is that this trans militia group, which had foreknowledge, and there's people posting, for instance, on X, there's one of these people posting, we got him just after Charlie Kirk was killed. Okay, well, what is that but foreknowledge? Okay, and the whole bragging about and the applauding is just bizarre and sick. Chris, why don't you come on and I'll cover a couple more of these stories. One you're showing there, the queer resistance, is a good one on Discern right now. And the White House is going to boost its civil terrorism, which is what this is, because these are revolutionary leftist groups. Okay, so it's not just a disturbed kid. This Tony Seruga has posted on X that he said, I was told this morning by an FBI analyst reviewing the reams of GPS data at the Charlie Kirk shooting that there may have been dozens of co-conspirators. And this Bum 75M said, we effing did it. And then he posted Charlie Kirk had died at the age of 31 after being shot. Donald Trump announces. Okay, so if that's the case, then we've got a much bigger problem here that is surfacing than we realize. Chris, what do you think?
Well, taking a look at this, this queer resistance group right here, as you can see clearly from its promotional poster, is taking its cues from the World Communist Movement. I mean, it's basically telling you
Maoist. These are usually Maoist groups.
Right. They're all the same, basically.
No, they're not all the same. They're not all the same.
Right. I'm just telling you, the communists are communists at this point.
They're not.
Right.
The Maoists are more on the Cultural Revolution. They want to attack the culture really deeply.
Well, that's the I agree. I agree with that. That's the way they do things. I'm with you on that. But the idea is to spread communist ideology around the world. And believe me, I thought we handled that back in 1954. And I would like to see the Trump administration actually use the I do have it here. It's make sure I have the wording correct. It's a 1954 law. It is the
Smith something or other act.
It was the Communist Control Act of 1954.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
I
right.
think it was also called the Smith Act.
Yes. Oh, they named it after Dr. Smith. Not bad. Anyway, the idea is, look, it basically didn't say just the Communist Party as a whole, but those who are trying to subvert the government using the World Communist Movement. And today's revolutionaries don't meet in fields. They don't meet in the woods anymore. They meet online. Where it's
they meet in universities too. They meet in universities, where
but they meet their like minds.
The Smith Act was 1940 Act. This one was 1954.
54. Right.
Yeah, and it declared the Communist Party to be an illegal organization, while the Smith Act established criminal penalties for advocating the overthrow of the U.S. government by force. Okay, and so that's the Red Scare. Well, I think it's time to bring back the Red Scare because it's turned violent and it's killing conservative leaders. And it may, I don't see any reason why it's going to stop with Charlie Kirk.
Well, if you've seen people brag about this and laugh about it and talk about how it shouldn't stop and go a little further, yeah, I don't think it's going to stop there either. And believe me, these people are speaking on Reddit. These people are speaking, I'm sure via the dark web somewhere along the line, but or maybe on whatever these kids use today, the MySpace and I don't know, stuff like that. I'm kidding about that, but the fact is that they're organizing.
One of the comments here in this article on the Liberty Daily that I'm looking at, this is by J.D. Rucker, who does some very good reporting. He's saying that reports from the New York Times described Robinson joking in a Discord chat about the doppelganger, the double, after FBI photos circulated of him at the scene. They said it's a macabre deflection that investigators see as an attempt to throw off the trail and is growing online radicalization. So such dark humor combined with deleted profiles from activist groups suggest a coordinated scramble to erase footprints, fueling suspicion that the militia's foreknowledge extended to logistical support. Well, probably, and then this governor Spencer Cox in Utah, he painted a portrait of Robinson's transformation, that resonates with concerns over the internet's role in breeding extremism. This is a family that is deep in Republican values, and his mother told the Daily Mail, "Most of my family are Republican. I don't know anyone who's a Democrat." And the Robinson guy who decides he's transgender, transhuman. Oh, and the other bizarre thing that they are, I'm finding out, is this furry group, the furries, the ones who think that they're animals. They dress up in animal suits.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. The special friend, if you will, the alleged special friend of Taylor Robinson, I have to say alleged for legal purposes. He is a trans and a furry.
Trans furry.
transferee. So I don't even know what it's basically a special breed of attention seeking.
You can't make this stuff up. So I mean, he's a transgender animal sexuality, whatever that means,
Ah,
whatever twisted thinking that is. So the FBI just disclosed that agents have opened investigations into leftist groups that have had prior knowledge, appear to have had prior knowledge of the attack. And no names have been released, but the White House requested a $58 million security boost. And that's for good reason. I think we're going to have to see that there's a lot of tightening of security around conservative figures. So further detail from Axios' report on federal and local law enforcement honing in on radical leftist groups that may have been involved in Kirk's assassination. Okay, so I guess the FBI is no longer going to go after aging Catholics who like the Latin Mass.
not anymore. Wait a bunch of years, I guess, but they're not. And it's been ridiculous anyway. That was did you see the media try to sell the idea, or parts of the media, and definitely the left meme makers on social media try to sell the idea that Tyler Robinson was some sort of conservative?
Do you have any of that to look at? I mean,
I don't want to. I don't know if I want to publicize these people, but there's a meme factory that deliberately lies about these things to get sheep to believe it, called Occupy Democrats. And they put these big, long explainer memes out because these people in the collective to have everything explained to them. They're always in yellow and white. You probably see them on social media, but they're actually trying to. They actually pulled off a list. They tried to tell you that he was a conservative because his family was conservative. Nope. He attended a college, didn't graduate, by the way, attended college, dropped out, and became it was radicalized. That's what happened to him. And there are left influencers that we don't really talk about that much. And I know you and I joke about it. I always tell them I keep these people around for laughs, but they're dangerous now.
they're
And behind
dangerous now.
paywalls,
Yeah,
you ever hear of Hassan Piker?
no.
Hassan Piker is a liberal influencer who talks to young people directly on his Twitch feed and behind a paywall. In front of the paywall, he's pretty bad, but behind it, he has actually threatened the lives of Republicans. He told people to disembowel them and kill them. I this is what these people are trying to do, and they're, again, I guess minimizing them and laughing them off is no longer an option.
Well, Andy Ngo, who's done a great work on the Antifa movement, if you recall,
Oh yeah,
getting beaten up by them and all the rest of them, reporting on them going back into the 2020. He's now got this post on what they're calling this anti-fascist trans group, which is the Ziz Cult. Okay, I think you've got
it's right there.
yeah. Okay, so I guess it's around this Jack Ziz Lesotho. I mean, this reminds me of Charlie Manson type stuff, where these guys are all drugged up and bizarre, and they're transgender or trans, whatever they are, and there's a little clique, and they're going around and killing people. And this is again, and they're identifying these people within the group, who are trans, non-binary adult children of so and so and so and so, were found killed in mysterious and unsolved circumstances. So it's a murderous cult, and shadowy it needs to be investigated as well.
This lends credence, Doctor. If you don't want me jumping on this one, Doctor Corsi, you remember the Minnesota shooter from a couple of weeks ago?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
He wrote in his journal. This is what was released. That his journal said that he did not want to transition back to being a guy because he didn't want to be a woman anymore. He wanted to be he didn't want to be a woman anymore. But he couldn't transition back because of severe repercussions that he felt he was going to get. Well,
that's probably what this cult's all about. In other words, if they decide that they don't want to be transgender, transhuman, then they get targeted for elimination. I mean, if you're going to have to go through, they pump these kids with hormones, and pump them with ideology of hatred, hating God for making them the wrong gender, hating their parents, hating society. And by the way, the universities are the breeding grounds of this. Now, why we've got a federal tuition program, tuition loans to kids to go to these radical schools, I don't know. But as far as I'm concerned, I left the universities in 1981, 1982. There were already two left for me. By now, they're just breeding grounds of insanity. I mean, it's and I can't believe some of the people involved in this at high levels within universities. And yet this is the culture. If you don't agree with these bizarre, gender ideas and leftist ideas, and hate America ideas, critical race theory, put up the book I wrote on this. This book is becoming increasingly more important. I want people to read this book. Yeah, I know it takes a little bit of doing, but read the book. It's called The Truth About Neo-Marxism, Cultural Maoism, and Anarchy. And Chris will put it up here on the screen for you in a minute. But it's right there. The Truth About Neo-Marxism, Cultural Maoism, and Anarchy. And it's exposing wake insanity in an age of disinformation. Well, this is an age of disinformation. And what we're finding here is that if you've got to look deeply into how the political philosophies have evolved to where the Marxism failed. It didn't produce a workers of the world revolt. The labor unions took care of a lot of that energy, and we have progressed beyond that. So the hate God group decided that they would embrace unbridled sex. And the Frankfurt School even started worshiping Marquis de Sade, which I point out in this book. They became a Marquis de Sade cult. Now, if you've ever read any Marquis de Sade, it's about as sadomasochistic as it gets. And at the heart of all of these bizarre sexual behaviors is a sexual masochism, because it's not a sexual energy aimed at procreation. It's a sexual energy aimed at perversion, at hate, at revolt against God, at angry against God. The other book I want people to take a look at is Silicon Satan, which Craig Lund wrote. It's a novel. And Craig's had a very, very difficult life as having written this and exposing the satanic nature of what goes on in Silicon Valley and in these elite circles. When we really find out the truth about what's going on, and I'm going to continue to make an effort to expose Act Blue, you're going to find that the nature of what is happening truthfully is that the United States government and the CIA have become the biggest dealers in child sex trafficking and child organ harvesting in the world. It became very profitable. That's why Obama and Biden opened the border with Honduras in 2014. And that we started getting all these unaccompanied minors coming across the border, and the Border Patrol is told to stand down. Well, the money ends up in Act Blue. It gets taken out of Act Blue by a magic mortgage fraud, where the leaders in Act Blue, and we're exposing this now on gods5stones.com. Take a look at gods5stones.com, and you'll see that we're not only looking at the Obama coup d'etat, which I think is going to end up in prosecutions, child and sex exploitation, which is at unheralded numbers, spiritual warfare that's going on right now. And that's what we're covering in God's Five Stones. Stolen elections. Donald Trump was talking about that even yesterday, about how the election in Venezuela was as corrupt as the 2020 election in the United States, which we all know was stolen. Okay, now we might get banned on YouTube for saying that, but YouTube shadow bans us anyway, so what difference does it make? X still shadow bans me. They can't stand this truth coming out. Now, gods5stones.com is G-O-D, no apostrophe in the S. You spell out the word five, F-I-V-E. Stones is plural, gods5stones.com. It's my investigative arm right now, and I have this as a platform in which we're exposing and exploring all of this corruption. Okay, so what we're finding here is we're at a point in a crossroads where we're either going to have a spiritual civil war, and Satan is not going to win the spiritual civil war. Satan may think this is a big chance. Yeah, well, we're going to start having to say the St. Michael Archangel prayer that the original Pope Leo, the 1800s turning to 1900s, put at the end of the Catholic Mass, only to get removed by the LGBT popes like Pope John Paul II in Vatican II, which was the beginning of the Catholic Church going to hell. Now the Catholic Church has got rainbow crosses in St. Peter's Basilica filled with LGBT, as if they deserve a place in the Catholic Church. Or this synodal movement with the bishops, thank you, Pope Francis, to take in these marginalized minorities, these poor babies, these LGBT who deserve our love. I'm sorry. Perverts and destruction and violence and killing does not deserve our love. It deserves our prosecution. And if the universities are going to persist on this, we don't need the universities. Quit all federal funding of all universities, they'll close. Start taxing their endowments. They want to teach this trash. We don't need the universities. Just like we don't need the bureaucracies. Move Harvard University to Death Valley along with all the other places that bureaucrats, to put them all in Death Valley, give them all Quonset huts, as much wind and solar as they want for their electric vehicles. All the ideas of the Democrats have been bad, and they're not getting any better anytime near soon. I want to play Robert Kennedy at the Kennedy Center. He really brought the house down, and I want to, his father and his uncle were both assassinated. He himself's had to live with this since he was a child. So, Chris, if we can cue that up, let's play it.
And I had a conversation once with Charlie where we were talking about the danger that we both face from challenging entrenched interests. And he asked me if I was scared to die. And I said to him, there's a lot worse things than dying. And one of those, the chief among those, is losing our constitutional rights and having our children raised in slavery. And I said to him at that time, I said, sometimes our only consolation is that we can die with our boots on. We can die fighting for these things. Charlie gave his life so that the rest of us would not have to suffer those fates worse than death. Now it's our job, he's no longer there to lead us, to rush in and fill the breach and win this battle for our country, for God, and for our families. Thank you all.
Now listen to the USA camps. That was a moving statement by by Robert Kennedy Jr., who knows personally what the consequences of political assassination are. He suffered it with his father. He suffered it with his uncle. I want to cover a couple more things before we wrap up today. I'm concerned about the economy, and I'm going to emphasize this again. Gold today is now at $3,659.40 an ounce. It's solidly over the $3,500 level. It means it's headed towards a new technical high. Silver's at $42.50. They're not going down. I mean, you're going to see, I think gold will go to $4,000 an ounce. I think Europe is bankrupt. Europe is in desperate financial shape. And President Trump pointed out in his Bedminster presser yesterday that Europe is already buying gasoline and natural gas and and oil from Russia through intermediary countries that are supplying it. And so that, while the Europe is saying, oh, we're going to put boots on the ground in Ukraine, they're desperate for making sure their populations don't freeze to death this winter. And please take a hard look at Swiss America on our website. You can get the 250 of these Walking Liberty $half, these silver $half, which are very, very high quantity, almost pure silver. And you get them for what they're worth. 250 of them you can buy at virtually what they're worth in silver. It's really a lost leader for Swiss America, but Swiss America wants you to have some real silver to start. And silver for many may be the way to invest, because it's a lot cheaper to own silver than it is at $3,600 an ounce. You listened to me a long time ago, you could have bought gold at $1,800 an ounce. A long time ago, being about a year ago. Okay, so take this seriously. And Swiss America, you can do two things. Recall the 800 number, 1-800-519-6268, 1-800-519-6268. Get a copy of this book, How the Coming Global Crash Will Create an Historic Gold Rush. I wrote this book a while ago, but I'm predicting what's happening today. And if you want to read it and understand the dynamics of it, you'll understand where we're headed and the necessity of you taking seriously to have some of your holdings in gold and silver. 1-800, write it down, 1-800-519-6268. Okay, now a couple more things I want to cover before we wrap up, and that is that I think now that it's pretty decided that you're going to see Israel take over Gaza, and we're going to have to find some place for the Palestinians to go. And I think Libya is going to be a number one country being willing to say, we'll open our doors to Palestinians. I think that can be negotiated with the Trump administration and should be. And I'm hoping to have some vestiges from Philip Escaravage, been reporting on for about a decade in his work in Libya. I think there's a peace plan that could be coming forward to create a new government in Libya. Okay, now China is also at the edge because of the tariffs and its slowdown in economic activity, with jobs returning to the United States finally. China could go into economic collapse. They're going to have to go through some exceptional moves in order to prevent themselves from having an economic collapse. Okay, so I'm going to end here with some comments that were made by Llewellyn Rockwell, and this is on the Zero Hedge, picking this up today. And what Rockwell is writing is, is it too much to say that since the French Revolution, the left has been the source of virtually all political evils and continues to be so in our day? If you don't understand what that's about, go back and read about Robespierre and the Reign of Terror. The French Revolution, particularly in its radical phase, was the classic manifestation of modern leftism and served as a model for still more radical revolutions around the world more than a century later. I think we have Rousseau is one that I focus on as having started this movement. Okay, so streets named after saints were given new names. Statues of saints were actually guillotined. People guillotining the statues were the radical ones. The calendar itself, which had this is during the French Revolution. Religious feasts were replaced by a national calendar with 30 days per month divided into 3 10-day weeks. Okay, they wanted to redesign everything, reimagine everything. And Rockwell writes, given that the left has sought the complete transformation of society, given such wholesale change is bound to come against the resistance of ordinary people who don't care for having their routines and patterns of life overturned by transgenderism, transhumanism, drugs, all the other bizarre things the left supports, breaking up of families, rampant sexuality, unrestrained sexuality. Rockwell says, we should not be surprised that the instrument of mass terror has been the weapon of choice. People must be terrified into submission and so broken and demoralized, the resistance seems to be impossible. Well, as long as we've got Robert Kennedy Jr. and others, Charlie Kirk, I think God will win. As I've said from the beginning, and always have ended these, with saying in the end, God always wins, and God will win here too. This is Dr. Jerome Corsi. Thank you for joining us in CorsiNation.com. We're doing podcasts every weekday. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless.